Did they not even think about that? They just went in and adjusted to it?
Yeah, pretty much. We don't. I told the guys early on that we're not making excuses for what we have to deal with this year. It's challenge or opportunity. You can view it either way you want. Certainly, there are some challenges, and it's a unique season, and there are some differences. But also, it's a great opportunity for us to continue to build our brand, build our fan base, build excitement in the program. I think our athletic department has done a great job of working with Bon Secours Wellness Arena and the city of Greenville to help market us and to make people aware that we're going to be playing up there. And some of the things they've done to the arena really look nice. It was fun for us yesterday to go up there for the first time and kind of have a little bit of a dry run. And although a little chilly, certainly, it's a nice arena. And if we can get fans in there, it's going to be a great home court. So, there's some challenges with timing and practicing and guys wanting to get back into the gym and get more shots at a few times that it's certainly there's some inconveniences, but it shouldn't preclude us from having a good year.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the scrimmage coach and how their performance stood out to you?
I was pleased. We took care of the ball pretty well for an early season scrimmage. We didn't turn the ball over much, which I think is important. The orange team, the guys that are I guess would be the starters or per se, or played very clean basketball. It's something we've talked about, is taking care of the ball and trying to get quality shots. I think we're passing the ball a little bit better, which is good. Jerron certainly is an outstanding player for us, and a guy who you can watch him play and the game is slowing down for him. He's making more better decisions and certainly playing the game with confidence. I thought Dante played well and is really an important piece to this team. His development from freshman year to his sophomore year, he's a very talented player and a guy who can score at all three levels. He can score at the rim, he can score mid-range, he can make some threes, and he has the size now and the physical tools that you need in terms of putting on 10 or 12 pounds to really help him be a better player mid-range and around the rim, not just as an offensive player but as a defender and rebounder. I think that's important for us. We had some good play from guys like Sidi Jete. I thought Sidi is a guy who in the first 9 practices has shown that he understands what we're doing and is more aggressive. He brings a ruggedness and a toughness that you really need on the interior, and he's an excellent rebounder. I mean, he really rebounds per minute at a very high level, and that's something that is a little bit of a concern for this team. So I was pleased with him. Avery Holmes and Jordan Roper, good to see those guys out there playing. Roper's got good speed and is going to bounce around between the 1 and the 2, and a guy that is versatile that way, can help you in some different things. Certainly as a guy who can make shots. Neither one of those guys made a lot of shots yesterday, but they did take care of the ball and played with great pace. And so I'm pleased with where we are. 9 practices in, there's a long way to go, but I do feel like our team is hungry and very enthusiastic right now.
Is the point guard position going to look dramatically different with the guys you're looking at right now? Because Rod is such a grinder and a hard-nosed defensive guy. It seems like you have a chance to be more dynamic.
Yeah, I think we have a chance to be a little more dynamic. There are times I don't think Rod got credit enough for his ability to make big plays, big driving shots around the rim, drives into the paint. He even had a few games where he had some big scoring games. It wasn't his nature to do that, and I think Avery and Jordan are both guys that are more offensive minded, so that'll put a little more pressure on the other team's defense initially. But Rod's big game shot making and attacking the basket late clock and times, that'll be something we're going to have to figure out, and how we're going to do that, who's going to do that. Will those guys do that as much as he did?
Was Rod a better fit for the style you like to play maybe than the guys you're trying to get working in that?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think, at all. I think Rod was a guy that was just kind of, he's like your favorite pair of shoes. He's just one of those guys that just did what you needed him to do. You could count on him. He made you feel comfortable. I think there were times that he probably played too many minutes. Some of that's probably my fault, and some of it is, not having enough confidence in other guys to do that. and so we didn't play as fast as I would like to play. I would like to play a little bit faster. Now we're not going to play as fast as the fastest teams in our league. I don't know that gives us the best chance to win. I think we have to be opportunistic. I think there are times we need to play with great pace and push. But then I think there are other times we have to, we got to run the ball, and we got to get a first down running the ball and using the clock. We've got to figure out ways to play different kinds of styles to win. But initially we need to be better pushing the ball, and that's something we've been working on.
You parked in previous years have you never had your
Yeah.
score back. You finally got them.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's one of the most unique things about my time here at Clemson is not, it's my 6th year for the first time. We've got a guy that we know is a double-figure scorer coming back that led us in scoring, and that makes you feel good. Certainly yesterday in the scrimmage, he led us in scoring again, and he's just it gives you a place to start offensively and something you kind of know, and then you can get better at some other things. You can look at other guys and what they're going to do, and it gives you poise and confidence, I think, going into a season to know that, hey, we've got a proven scorer back, a guy that everybody on the team knows is kind of the guy that has led us in scoring, and I would think he would again this year, although there's some other guys. Certainly Adante Grantham could have a big season, but it helps to know that you have a little more firepower initially.
In addition to the score, it sounds like Jerron during the offseason has sort of grabbed everybody by the throat, like we're not going to accept what.
Yeah, I think he has. I also think Landry Noko has. I think Landry Noko is a guy as well. Both those guys are guys that have a sense of urgency. Jerron has always been an extremely hard worker, one of the hardest workers I've coached. He's in the gym all the time, bringing guys with him, and preaches to guys, about being their best and giving their best and those kinds of things. And Landry's more of that positive energy guy. He's a guy that, great teammate, a guy that will give good advice to players, but also comes to practice with a spirit and an energy level that you need and is hard to coach. You just have to find guys that have that. It's an innate ability of his. It's one of the things that makes him a great teammate. It's one of the reasons why I love coaching him. And I think those two guys together give us good leadership.
You mentioned being hungry. How much of the way last year ended does that fuel your guys this year?
It does. Last year didn't end the way we wanted it to. We played some really good basketball there, in the middle of the ACC season, and fizzled a little bit down the stretch. That Notre Dame loss took a lot out of our guys, especially probably my 2 seniors. I think those guys, we had a little bit of a hard time rallying back, and didn't play as well as we would have liked in a couple games. And I hope that's motivated everybody. It certainly, has me excited and anxious about this season. I think, the older guys in our program certainly feel the same way.
Can you talk a little bit about your defensive philosophy and pressuring the ball? Do you tweak that based on your personnel, or is it solely based on scouting the opposition?
Well, it's all of it, really. We certainly want to defend and have some pressure on the ball. Everybody, it's the last couple years, especially going into this season, there's been another major emphasis, and I think this year it's going to continue longer than some of the emphasis in officiating do, about contact and freedom of movement, and people want to see more scoring in our game. It's like they don't want anybody hitting the quarterback. They don't want people touching ball handlers either, and so you have to be very careful to defend, and how much do you extend your defense up the court for the risk of fouling. I do think, some of our guys on the perimeter, we've done a good job with guys like Rod Hall, and we need to do that with Avery, of being able to defend without fouling and putting some pressure on people without, fouling and putting people at the free throw line. I think that's one of the things defensively you have to be good at, is you have to defend without, giving up free throws. When you give up free throws, you can't defend those. And so there's certainly some game planning that goes involved with how much pressure we're going to apply, but we don't want to be somebody that's comfortable and easy to play against.
How huge is the continuity of having so many veterans back this year?
Yeah, it's important. I think it's really important at Clemson to have older players. We need more experienced guys that are physically more developed and ready. We probably have a little bit tougher time recruiting, first-year players that are as ready to step in and contribute immediately as at a high level as some people. Certainly Dante Grantham was one of the guys we were able to get to do that. But I think us having, some seniors and juniors in our program that are primary players and good players, that's really important for us. That experience is the evening factor of some of the things we face against the teams we play in our league.
This as experienced and maybe talent-wise, top to bottom, you don't have a KJ, but as far as the overall talent, maybe as good as you've had here at Clemson?
I like our talent. I like our team. I'm a little concerned, there's a little bit of depth issue in the backcourt that, if we have a guy or two go down, we could be thin quickly. We kind of made a decision with Shelton Mitchell and Marquise Reed. We just felt like they were too good of players to not try to get, and so we didn't add another player to this team. It would probably be nice to have one more perimeter guy that had a little firepower and could change a pace, do some things, but in hindsight, I think we made the right decision. I really like Shelton and Marquise. Those guys in 9 practices have proven that have shown already that they're good players, and they're going to be really competitive next year, competing for minutes. And it's going to be really good for the guys that are playing this year to compete against them every day, because they bring some things that you need. Marquise is just a scorer and offensive confidence, and Shelton just has great size and pace as a point guard. So to play against those guys every day is going to be good, but we could be a little thin in the backcourt if we have an injury or two. That's one of the concerns.
How do you see that battle for the starting point, starting 1, starting 2? How do you see that?
Well, Jordan Roper can go either way. He's really, he's probably a little more offensive-minded scoring mentality than one, and so that's primarily where he's found himself. But he's, they're both going to play. Avery, my thought is that Avery would start at the point, and then Jordan's either going to, start at the 2 or come off the bench at both positions and be able to score. I got to be a little careful in that if I start Jordan and Avery together and we get a couple of quick fouls, I don't want to not have those guys the last 10 minutes of a game because they're our primary ball handlers. So then I think it comes to a guy like Gabe DeVoe or Austin Ojukwu, maybe even a Ty Hudson. Gabe is a guy that provides long-range shooting. He has strength. He's big and strong. I think he can rebound if we get on him a little bit and push him to rebound. I think at 6'2" and 200 pounds, he's a guy that athletically can jump up and get big rebounds. Austin Ojukwu is a versatile player that, really probably excels more defensively right now. And so he's kind of a nice change-up that way with size, being able to lateral quickness, being able to guard different positions and bother some people. And then you can start Jordan Roper, and you're going to get a guy with speed who can run around and make shots. Sometimes his size can be a little bit of a detriment defensively. You play a little bit with, undersized guards, but at the same time, he's an experienced player and a guy that's had a lot of good games.
Obviously, being the importance of Landry on the court, can you tell us some of the things you worked on with him to keep him out of foul trouble?
You just go back and you go back through all the fundamentals and just being in proper positioning and trying to keep the ball out of there before it gets there so you don't get into trouble. It's going to be a point of concern again because they're really blowing the whistle on contact and physical play, and that obviously starts in the post. And so his fundamentals defensively have to be really good. I think, in looking at a lot of it, I think he was unfairly penalized in several games with some of the calls. I don't know if it became a tag that he got around the league a little bit, but, he's got to get past that mentally himself and play with more confidence and believe in what he's doing and trust what he's doing, and because we need him out there. He's a guy that brings a ton of energy to our team, and it can bring us some low post scoring that we're going to need.
What area of Jerron's game have you seen the most improvement on from last year?
It's a good question. I don't know if it'll be shooting because I do think his shooting has improved. He's a guy that really did not shoot the ball. He thought he shot the ball pretty well, but really he did not shoot the ball really well when he got here. He would shoot a lot of threes, but, and we talked to him about not doing that. And as he's gotten better and shot the ball better, he's opening things up, which is what we really need, and taking more threes. I think maybe he took 50 threes last year, 55, I don't know. But I would look for that number to increase, certainly, which I think is a good thing. I don't want him to fall in love with it, though. The thing where he's starting to get to a next-level player is not just driving and scoring or getting fouled, but driving and drawing to and getting other players baskets. And I've told him to be a great player, you have to make other players better. And so that's kind of the next step in his progression. And it's something we started working on a little bit at the end of last year. Obviously, all spring and summer we've been working on it and well into the fall.
With Austin, is it valuable to have a bigger guard like that that can be disruptive?
It is, and I think that's his main value right now to start. If you were to ask me what's the best thing he does, is defend different players. You know, and there were a couple games last year where we stuck him in there, and he, you know, Rod Hall was probably our number one defender. DeMarcus was right there too. DeMarcus and Rod were both pretty good defenders. But Austin Ojukwu was also a guy that occasionally came in and guarded a guy like Jerian Grant for possessions. And his versatility to guard, he could guard a point guard if he had to. He can guard some threes. He's gotten stronger, which I think is important. Keeping him strong and keeping weight on him has been a challenge. You know, it's something he's got to continue to buy into, to playing at a heavier weight so he can be more physical. That's his greatest strength. And then the offensive part of the game is slowing down for him. He can make standstill threes when he's open, but I don't want him to fall in love with that part of it. I think he needs to buy into being like one of our top defenders and a guy that'll make an open shot when he gets one.
Austin made some big shots late in games. Is that something you think he just has a knack for, or is he just confident?
I think, you know, he's a guy that has made some shots growing up in high school, and he won a state championship. So he's a pretty confident offensive player. You know, some guys, and it happens with a lot of our players, you know, especially as they're younger, they think their games are a little better than they are. When you start to compare them to other options in your lineup, you know, they think their options should be higher, which is a good thing. But in all honesty, I think that's one of the things as a coach that you have to do is clearly define roles and make sure guys understand where we really need the ball to go to in situations. Now, when you're struggling to score and when you lose a KJ McDaniel, you kind of have to start again. It takes a while. That's harder, and it affected us last year to know where to go. We didn't really know, was it going to be Landry? Was it going to be Jerron? I didn't know that Jerron would make as big a jump as he did. I knew he'd have a good sophomore year and make a jump, but I didn't know it would be quite as drastic as it was. And so then you're kind of always tweaking. That's one of the things that's nice about this year for us finally, is to have a guy coming back. You know, KJ was as close as I've had to that coming back from his sophomore to junior year. You know, we didn't know he was quite as good at that junior year as he ended up being, but we knew he was going to be good and would be our primary player. And some of that was because of our trip to Italy.
Between the 30-second shot and the personnel you have at point guard, you talked about that you want the offense to go
Yes.
fast. You hoping that shows up.
Faster. Again, I don't know, you know, what fast is, but we're trying to go faster. And, you know, it's funny, even in the first 9 practices, you know, I'm pushing our guys faster than they really want to go sometimes. Like they're the ones slowing us up. They're the guys that aren't running all the way to where they need to run to, or they're resting, you know. And it's a little bit harder right now, and it's going to take a little bit of time because in practice you don't have as many subs, so guys naturally wear down. But we've got to have better offensive pace, and we have a little bit more skill than maybe we've had. And Jerron's skill level improvements in terms of passing and moving it and driving are allowing us to the ball not to stick. The ball stuck a little bit with Jerron last year, and we didn't get off the ball and get into stuff. The year before, a little bit with KJ, you kind of had to play a little slower just to make sure that KJ got the ball where you needed it to. And Rod's instincts weren't to just play fast. And so we certainly are going to play faster and try to be more efficient while we do it.